Hi, I'm Shuriken255. I am the lead programmer of the Doors game, and in this video I want to present you this project from the programmer's perspective. The original Doors is an animated collaboration where animators were given an empty room with two doors and a simple set of rules. A black stick figure enters the room from one door and leaves it from another one without changing their size, color, or bringing any items from the room with them. What happens inside of the room is up to the animator. In the end, it formed a story of a stick figure that travels through unique worlds that are only connected by mysterious doors. The participants' uninfluenced creativity made each room feel like it's a separate world with its own idea. Doors game follows the same concept, and my job as a lead programmer is to provide level makers as much freedom as possible so they can create whatever level they want, even without having any coding experience. The current prototype of this game already gives them a lot of freedom. It is built on Love, which is an open source framework that is free for commercial use. As for me, this framework is the most suitable solution for this project because games for it are made on the very expandable scripting language called Lua, which also can be used for making unique logic for the levels. It showed itself very optimized on my low-end laptop. It is well documented and provides an easy access to most features of the engine that are required for this game, which greatly speeds up the development process and lets me concentrate on building a good game structure rather than spending hours figuring the API. The current prototype features the game mode where you can complete all the loaded levels in a random order. The prototype also provides the level editor in which you can create your own level while also editing existing ones. Everything in the level is an object. Objects have their own unique parameters that may be changed in the Properties tab. New objects may be drag and drop from the object list. There is also an instance list that contains all objects in the level. They are being drawn and processed from the bottom to the top. You can change their order by dragging them across the instance list. When you create a new level, you start with some initial objects. Making a level implies adding more objects to the stage and editing their positions and properties. You can test your level by pressing the Test Level button, and then press Escape to return back to the level editor. The most simple way of creating a level at the moment is creating a physical geometry for the level by dragging walls, creating zones that kill the player, creating a reference image to your level, and using it to draw your level in any program you like. Once you are done, you replace the reference with your image, and the most basic level is done. You also can add as many parallax backgrounds as you like. You may make some objects move by using the path object, or even move paths by other path objects to create really interesting movement patterns. You may add your own sound effects to the stage and they are going to pan or subside depending on your camera location. You may use scripts to implement an advanced logic for your level and do some custom rendering, but as for now, it lacks a proper API and documentation. Just having that is enough to make pretty levels, but unfortunately they all look static and they are lacking some life. And this is where the animation object starts to shine. You can create an animation in Flash 8 and convert it into an LVA file using the self-made Flash to Love GSFL plugin. The plugin will efficiently generate all required sprite sheets for your animation and write down a JSON file that will contain instructions on how to recreate this animation in the game using included sprite sheets. Once your animation is converted, you can simply drag and drop the LVA file into your level editor and it's going to import and play your animation in the level. Besides being able to import an animation from Flash into your game, you're also able to interact with the level from the animation. For example, let's create an enemy that's going to attack the player and import it into the level. As you can see, nothing happens if you stand next to him. But if you add the kill hitbox on the frame where he attacks, export it and replace it, you see that the player now dies from their attack. You're also able to create a geometry for the level from the animation itself and even animate it. This allows people to create levels directly in Flash, but this is not what we are aiming for. Animation is also capable of taking control over the camera, partially or completely. Depending on the transparency that is set for the camera symbol, it's going to interpolate between the animation and the game camera. This allows you to create cutscenes for your level and smoothly move the camera instead of teleporting it to the specified location. Besides that, you can also add sound effects or animation and even animate their location while they are playing. This will result in sound panning and subsiding depending on the camera location. In order for the sounds to be included in the LVA file, you need to have a monotrack OGG sound file in the folder with the FLA file that you use to export the LVA. I am thinking about adding a feature to automatically convert and include sounds on export, but this task may be too tedious to automate, so I'm not sure if it's worth it. Another thing you can do with the animation is to apply parallax to it in the level editor, the same way you do it for static images. Besides all these features, using Flash to make levels can make them more size efficient if you do it by assembling the level from the smaller pieces and building complex nested structures out of them. Not only do you save video memory, levels themselves will take less space, yet levels like these may be slow to render. With all these features, volunteers from the Hans Dojo community could create a lot of pretty levels that you can see and play in the game. They had a lot of fun making them, yet the current build is only a prototype to show you a proof of concept. It's very unstable, and in order to fix it, the whole base for the game needs to be recreated from the ground up. Fixing it is not the only reason why we need to do that. We also need a stronger and much more reliable foundation for the new features we are going to implement, like undo, redo actions, folders for the instance list to keep big and complex levels organized, grid, advanced snapping settings, and completely new simplified UI to be more intuitively understandable for the new users. Besides all that, the scripting side is going to have a lot of attention from me. I will need to provide programmers a stable and easy to use API. I will also need to provide a good documentation for this API and negate any risks from running untrusted scripts on the player's machines. Making this base and especially the level editor is going to be the biggest chunk of work before this game's release. The allocated time for making this base is 10 months. The reason why we concentrate on it so much is because we are going to keep making content for this game after the release, hosting events, level making competitions, and expanding the official world of the Doors game universe. Scoring on making a good foundation for the game will definitely backfire us in the future if we are going to be expanding the content of the game for multiple years. During the first 4 months of the base development, we should have a basic game mechanic and a polished player movement, so the level designers can start working on the levels even before the whole base is finished. When the base is finished and tested, we are going to concentrate on polishing the created levels and filling the game with even more content. Since that moment, it only matters how many levels we can create because the base itself will be ready for launch and the game's initial API will be completely done. Another feature we are planning to add is an invisible karma system. This system is easy to implement, not forced to be used in every single level, and yet it adds another dimension for the game. There is going to be a variable for the player called karma. Initially, it starts with a value of 50, and it may vary in range from 1 to 99. When the player finishes the level, you can evaluate his actions as good or bad. Depending on how good or bad his actions were, you can increase or decrease his karma. Besides changing his karma, you can also read the player's karma to make appropriate changes to the level. The changes may be anything. For example, you can make flowers in your level turn back if your character's karma is bad, or you can add happy faces and halo to them if the player's karma is good. You can delete some obstacles, making the player's walkthrough easier if his karma is good, or you can make his life a living hell by adding more obstacles if his karma is very low. You can even change the way the player gets to complete the level depending on his karma, but at the same time, nothing forces your level to change according to the player's karma level. Similarly to the karma system, when you finish the level, you're able to add save tags specifically for this level, and then use them to make changes in the other levels. This will allow the player to make decisions that are going to affect the story or his playthrough, depends on his past actions. For example, if the player fixes something on one level, some other level may be easier for him to complete, because the mechanism he fixed is now working. Wrecking something on the level may have the opposite effect. But again, nothing forces level makers to use this feature. It's just a nice detail to have in the game. That's all I have to say about the plans and my vision for the game. I personally see a lot of potential in this game, and with a strong foundation and enough support, it's going to be very successful. Thank you for your attention.